So I recently went through something I didn't think could ever happen inside a Ferrari showroom. It started quietly, too quietly. The kind of silence that feels like glass, fragile and waiting to shatter. And then heels, the hard, confident click of heels on polished concrete. Everyone turned and the air itself seemed to brace. The bell above the door had chimed a polite little note, but nothing about her entrance was polite. She didn't walk in like a customer. She walked in like an inspector. Sharp white blazer, perfect blonde helmet of hair. Eyes that skipped over the artwork, skipped over me, and locked straight onto the beast in the center of the room. The red Ferrari SF90. 1,000 horses bottled up inside a body that looked carved from fire itself. She pointed one manicured finger, that one. Not a question, not curiosity, a demand. And though her voice was steady, it carried the kind of weight that comes from years of people saying yes to her, even when they wanted to say no. I put on the smile I've mastered, calm, polite, practiced. Good morning, I'm Jake Hartley. She's a beauty, isn't she? SF90 Straddle, hybrid, about 1,000 horsepower, 0 to 60 in. But she waved her hand, brushed my words away like dust. I need it for 6 months, no extra checks. Need, not want, not ask, need. That single word changed everything. In this business, people know, they know Ferraris aren't rentals, they aren't shortcuts. They're dragons. You don't just throw a saddle on and ride, you prove yourself. But this woman didn't come here to prove anything. She came here to skip the line. Our shortest lease is 24 months, I explained gently, keeping the warmth in my tone. We don't offer 6-month terms. Her lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't answer me. Instead, she reached for the Ferrari's handle, like the showroom floor was her personal garage. Ma'am, Marcus, my security guy, cleared his throat behind her. 6'3", built like a wall, but with the same calm smile I wore. Please. The timing was eerie. A young family had walked in just then. Their kid froze at the sight of the red Ferrari, eyes wide like he'd just spotted a dinosaur. Dad, he whispered loudly, is she the boss of the cars? The father chuckled, shaking his head. No, bud, the rules are. The whole room heard it, and the woman, Karen, laughed, but not like it was funny, more like she was mocking every syllable. Rules are for people without titles, she said, her voice smooth, almost sweet. Marcus leaned in just slightly. Here, he said softly, titles don't drive. The kid gasped, his eyes lighting up like he'd just heard a movie hero drop a catchphrase. He gave Marcus a silent thumbs up. Karen's jaw tightened. She turned back to me, already pulling out her phone. Good, have it delivered tomorrow. I don't want to be bothered with paperwork. Just send the bill. My smile faltered just a fraction. Because here's the thing, in my head every step of the process was already unfolding. Credit checks, insurance binders, training certifications, layers of protection built to keep disasters from happening. She was trying to leap past all of it, straight to the finish line. Miss Dinkle, I began carefully, my voice steady, calm, but now firmer than before. I can appreciate you're a busy person, but there is a process, the same for everyone. For a car like this, safety is just as important as finances. That means credit application, verified insurance, and an orientation on the track. She scoffed, a sharp sound like metal snapping. Unnecessary. I've been driving for 20 years. I know how to handle a car. I studied her eyes, and in that moment I saw what she truly was. Not just a customer, not even a negotiator. She was the woman neighbors whispered about, the HOA president who measured fences with a ruler, fined people for the wrong color welcome mats. The one who wielded rules like weapons, but refused to be touched by them herself. This is absurd, she snapped. I'm a very important person in this community. Exceptions should be made. I met her gaze without blinking. My smile was gone now, replaced by something still unmovable. At Prestige Ferrari, the most important people are the ones who follow the safety rules. There are no exceptions. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd scream. Her fists clenched, her jaw twitched. But then she inhaled sharply, forcing herself calm. Fine, I'll get you your paperwork, you'll see. The echo of her heels followed her all the way to the door. The bell chimed one last polite note as it closed behind her. And just like that, the silence returned. Calm, polished, but not the same, because I knew people like Karen don't just walk away. They regroup, they scheme. And when they come back, it's never to play by the rules. And I had the sinking feeling. Her paperwork would be imaginative. Everyone thought the storm had passed. But I knew better. People like Karen don't disappear. They regroup. They re-enter the game with a new angle. And sure enough, a few days later, the ping of my email inbox told me everything I needed to know. Subject line, paperwork for SF90 lease. Sender Karen Dinkle. My stomach sank. I clicked. The message was short, demanding. Here is my proof of insurance as requested. I expect to schedule my test drive immediately. One attachment, one PDF. I opened it. And at first glance, it looked official. A binder letter from a major insurance company, one we dealt with all the time. Big bold logo at the top. Her name listed cleanly. Ferrari SF90 Straddle noted, complete with a $5 million liability policy. But something didn't sit right. Call it instinct. Call it the little alarm bell in the back of my brain that's gone off too many times to ignore. I zoomed in. The logo, it wasn't crisp, not sharp like the ones I'd seen 100 times before. It looked fuzzy, like a photo of a photo, a copy of a copy. I pulled up another binder on my screen, one from a genuine client just days ago, placed them side by side. There it was, clear as day. One was sharp, clean vector lines, corporate font. The other, hers, blurred pixels, inconsistent letters. My eyes moved lower, and then I saw it. Policy number, 123,456,789. My jaw tightened. Was this a joke? It felt insulting, almost childish, like she hadn't even tried. I leaned closer, scanning every line. The font shifted halfway through her address. A signature at the bottom, but pixelated, clearly cut and pasted. It wasn't sloppy, it was calculated. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a clerical error. This was a forgery. I sat back, staring at the screen, and for a long moment I felt the weight of it, because this wasn't about a woman with too much pride. This was something darker, something criminal. She wasn't just trying to skip rules, she was breaking them. And not just mine. Fraud in any form is serious, but insurance fraud, that's a felony. I picked up my phone and called Robert, our finance lead. If anyone could see the fine cracks in a fake, it was him. He walked into my office 30 seconds later, quiet as always. I didn't say a word, just pointed to the screen. His eyes narrowed, back and forth, comparing the two binders. The silence stretched. Then finally, he let out a low whistle. Wow, that's not just fake, that's lazy. Did she make this in Microsoft Paint? I allowed myself a thin smile. That's what I thought. But behind the humor, the truth was burning in both of us. This wasn't some HOA drama anymore. This was a line being crossed. So what's the play? Robert asked. I tapped the desk. We could go straight to the insurance company. Their fraud unit would eat this alive. But part of me wants to see how far she takes it. She's not done. I can feel it. Robert nodded slowly. Then she's going to show up at the track. Exactly, and when she does, she'll have another fake in hand. A certificate maybe, something to prove she's qualified. I leaned back, folding my arms. The weight of the decision settled on me. This wasn't just about a car anymore. It was about what kind of people are allowed to slip past the rules. What does real justice look like? It's not just saying no to her face. It's not embarrassing her in the showroom. It's dragging the lie into the light, piece by piece, until there's nowhere left for it to hide. Because one thing my brother always told me still rang in my ears. The devil's in the details, but so is the truth. And staring at Karen's forged document, I realized this was just the beginning. The call came an hour later. My phone buzzed with Mr. Chen's name, the owner of Prestige Ferrari, and the tone of his voice told me exactly what I'd feared. Jake, he said, tight, nervous. Karen Dinkle just called me. She's threatening to go to the news. Claims we're discriminating against her. Says you and some track instructor are conspiring to block her lease. I could picture it perfectly. Karen packing, red-faced, voice quivering with rehearsed outrage. She'd probably turned on the waterworks for good measure. "Mr. Chen," I said, keeping calm, "everything she's telling you is a lie. She brought in a forged insurance binder. Then she showed up with a fake track certificate. She says they're real, says you just don't want to deal with her." His voice cracked slightly. He wanted this to go away, to smooth it over. "I have copies of everything," I replied. "The forgeries are obvious, I can show you." There was silence, then a long, heavy sigh. "Jake, she's a prominent figure, president of a big HOA. We can't just ignore this. A media storm would kill business." I knew what was coming next, the compromise, the path of least resistance. "What do you propose?" I asked carefully. "She wants a test drive," he said. "She says if she can prove she can handle the car, all of this will go away, one drive on the track." My chest went cold, but then something sharper took over: strategy. Because in my world, data doesn't lie. If Karen wanted a trial by fire, then so be it. "Fine," I said. "One lap, but on my terms, not hers." "What terms?" "Dealer-owned SF90, not a customer's car, fully insured under our track policy. Supervised, I ride shotgun. Coach Diaz monitors from the control tower. And the car runs a VBOX logger. Every throttle press, every brake input, every steering twitch gets recorded and printed. One lap, that's it. If she can't handle it, it's over." Mr. Chen hesitated. "She'll see that as a trap." "Let her," I said coldly. "If she's half the driver she claims to be, she's got nothing to worry about. The data won't lie." There was another pause, then, "All right, set it up." I hung up and exhaled slowly. My heart was steady, my mind already 2 steps ahead. Karen thought she'd won a victory. What she didn't see was that she had just agreed to walk into a cage. And when the day came, the Arizona sun beat down mercilessly. The track shimmered with heat. Crew cars lined the paddock. Safety marshals leaned on guardrails, watching. The demo SF90 idled in the pit lane, a beast waiting to be unleashed. Karen arrived in her white Range Rover, smiling like a queen stepping onto her throne. She wore oversized sunglasses and carried herself like the ending was already written. I walked her to the Ferrari. "All right, Miss Dinkle," I said, professional, controlled. "Before we begin, let's go over the basics." She waved me off without looking. "I know how to drive." Still, I circled the car. Left paddle downshifts, right paddle upshifts, carbon ceramics very sharp. If coach says brake, you brake. She was busy checking her reflection in the tinted glass. "I don't need a babysitter." I tapped the bright red cover of the kill switch. "This isn't for you, it's for me." Coach's voice crackled over our headsets. "Radio check, Karen." She ignored him. "Karen, radio check." "Fine," she snapped. "Check." "Copy," Diaz said dryly. I cinched her harness tight. She rolled her eyes. "Enough." "It's tight when you can't shrug," I told her, tugging the straps. She tried to move, couldn't. Perfect. Diaz's calm voice returned. "Remember, brake before turn-in, eyes up, follow my calls." The marshal waved the yellow flag drill, armed and ready. My chest cooled. This wasn't just about driving skill. It was about obedience. Would she listen? The gate swung open. I gave her the signal. She mashed the throttle. The SF90 roared forward, tires screaming, my head snapping back against the seat. We blew past the pit cone at 80 before I could breathe. "Easy," I barked. "Ease the throttle." She ignored me, eyes locked on the straight. "Karen, brake now." Diaz's voice cut sharp over the radio. Now." She didn't. The corner rushed toward us like a closing fist. My hand hovered over the kill switch. At the last possible second, she slammed both feet, brake, and throttle. The Ferrari shuddered violently, the computer confused. Brakes stuttered, tires squealed, the car fishtailed. We somehow clawed through. My pulse thundered. "You're on brake and gas at the same time," I shouted. "One or the other." But she didn't listen, not once. She sawed at the wheel, missed every apex, ignored every command. And when Diaz tossed a yellow flag, a drill, a simple test of discipline, she didn't slow. She accelerated. It was the worst driving I ever seen in my life, not just reckless, not just arrogant, dangerous. When we finally skidded back into the pit lane, my shirt clung with sweat. My hands trembled from holding the kill switch. Karen, she was radiant, smiling ear to ear. "See," she said proudly. "Perfect, I handled it, wonderful car." Her definition of perfect was that we hadn't died. She thought surviving one lap meant she'd passed. I climbed out on shaky legs, the world tilting. Coach Diaz strode down from the tower, his face like carved stone. In his hand was the telemetry printout. He held it up silently. Jagged spikes, erratic scribbles, mountains of brake and throttle jammed together. "This," he said coldly, pointing, "is where you were full throttle and 80% brake. And this is where you ignored a yellow flag. On my track, that's a lifetime ban." For the first time, the smug smile slipped from her face, just slightly. Confusion, then anger. "That's not right," she snapped. "The car was defective. It wasn't doing what I told it to." I pulled out my phone, held it up. "Arizona is one-party consent, and I record rides for safety. This file is time-stamped. The car did exactly what you told it to, and the data proves it." The trap had snapped shut. Her face turned crimson. She fumbled for her phone, hands trembling. And with a practiced flick, she smoothed her features into something else entirely, fragile, victimized, broken. A red live icon blinked on her screen. She turned the camera toward herself, and with fake tears in her eyes, she began. Her voice cracked as she looked into her phone's camera, tears that weren't real glistening at the corners of her eyes. "I am being bullied," she sobbed, angling the lens toward me, toward Coach Diaz. "All I wanted was to lease a car, a beautiful red Ferrari, but because I'm a strong, successful woman, they don't want me to have it. They forced me into a defective car. The brakes didn't work right. They printed out fake papers to make me look like a bad driver. This is sexism. This is gatekeeping. This is what happens when powerful women are targeted." Her performance was flawless. She panned to the telemetry printout in Diaz's hand. "Look at this nonsense. Squiggly lines on paper. They say this proves I'm dangerous. No, this is just how they silence women like me." 5 minutes. That's how long the rant lasted. 5 minutes of emotional spin, twisting every fact into a dagger, wielding victimhood like a weapon. And then she ended the stream, slipped her phone into her purse, and turned to me with a triumphant smirk. In her mind, she'd already won. My phone buzzed almost instantly. Then again, notifications, calls, messages, a storm brewing faster than the desert heat outside. Mr. Chen was going to have a nightmare on his hands. But me, I wasn't worried. Because while she used emotion, I had facts. While she used performance, I had proof. And in this world, the truth has its own gravity. It pulls everything back eventually. I found Robert, who had been standing quietly near the paddock, watching everything unfold. His face was grim. "You see that?" I asked. He nodded. "She's good, too good. People will believe her." "Then we have to be better," I said simply. A text buzzed onto my phone. It was Tessa, the model, the Ferrari owner who had become one of my favorite clients. "What happened?" she wrote. "I saw Karen's live. She's spinning hard. Jake, this is bad." I called her, explained everything. The forged binder, the fake certificate, the lap, the data, the live stream. There was a pause, then her voice came through, sharp, angry. "She's making all women look like hysterical idiots. That's not just fraud, that's insulting. What do you need?" "I need you to help me tell the truth," I said. An hour later, back in the quiet showroom, we set up a tripod. The light glowed off the polished gray concrete. The Roma shimmered behind Tessa like a silent witness. I stayed off camera. This wasn't about me. It had to come from someone real, someone undeniable. The red light blinked. "Hi, everyone," Tessa began, her voice clear and steady. "My name is Tessa. You may have seen a video today accusing Prestige Ferrari of sexism. I'm a client here, I'm a woman, and I'm a Ferrari owner." She held up a folder. "This is my file, my credit application, my real insurance binder. And this," she said, producing a certificate, "is my completion certificate from the high-performance driving course with Coach Diaz." Her eyes met the lens, calm but firm. I had to do every step. Jake and his team hold every client to the same standard. It's not about gender, it's about safety. These cars are powerful, and the rules keep us alive. Anyone who says otherwise isn't telling you the truth. The video cut. Then Robert appeared, standing at his finance desk. His tone was quiet, factual, unshakable. I'm Robert, finance lead here at Prestige Ferrari. Our policies on credit, insurance, and training apply to everyone. No exceptions. These standards protect our clients, the public, and the vehicles. They exist for safety and liability reasons, and we enforce them equally. Less than 2 minutes, calm, measured, a scalpel against Karen's hammer. We posted it everywhere, titled it simply, A Message About Safety and Standards. And then we waited. The comments rolled in almost instantly. I track my GT3. These rules are normal. If the brakes didn't work, why does her throttle read 100%? Someone posted a meme. A child's crayon drawing of a Ferrari labeled gas and brakes same time, LOL. Tessa replied with the actual data screenshot, just a smile emoji. The tide began to shift, slowly at first, then faster. People who'd watched Karen's rant began resharing ours. This makes more sense. Facts over drama. Yikes, she lied about the paperwork too. Mr. Chen called, relief creeping into his voice. Jake, it's working. The calls are slowing. People are siding with us. But I wasn't celebrating yet, because while the social storm was loud, it wasn't the real fight. That lay deeper. The insurance binder, the fake number, the deliberate fraud. And I knew exactly where to go next. I dialed the fraud investigation line for the insurance company, whose name had been plastered across Karen's forged PDF. A woman answered, Elena Garcia, senior investigator. Her voice was clipped, efficient. Hello, Ms. Garcia. My name is Jake Hartley from Prestige Ferrari in Scottsdale. I sent in a document earlier this week regarding a possible fraudulent binder. I have it in front of me, she said. I could hear her typing. Policy number 123456789. Even she let out a soft chuckle. That's the one, I said. I can save you time, Elena said firmly. This document is a forgery. The policy number is fictitious. The agent's signature isn't one of ours. We have no record of a Karen Dinkle holding any high-performance vehicle policy with us. The words landed like a gavel. It was official. The charade was over. And for the first time since she'd walked into my showroom, I realized this wasn't just about a Ferrari anymore. This was fraud, real fraud, a felony. And if Karen was willing to fake this, what else had she faked? The email from Elena landed in my inbox minutes later. Official letterhead. Words like fraudulent, fictitious, unauthorized. It was black and white, undeniable. I saved it into a folder on my computer and gave it a name that felt almost like a trial exhibit, Dinkle Exhibit A. For the first time, the noise of social media felt far away. The live rants, the hashtags, the spin, none of it mattered now, because this wasn't just showroom drama anymore. It wasn't about a lease. It wasn't even about a car. It was about the law. And in my gut, I knew. Someone willing to commit insurance fraud for a Ferrari wouldn't stop there. People like that don't just bend rules. They build their whole lives around breaking them. My phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. This is Hunter, the voice said cautiously. From Pine Ridge, I saw your video and hers. We need to talk. Something in his tone told me this wasn't idle curiosity. This was desperation. We met the next morning in a quiet coffee shop halfway across Scottsdale. Neutral ground. No dealerships. No HOA meeting halls. Just the hum of espresso machines and the smell of roasted beans. He was in his 50s. Kind eyes. The kind of man who just wanted to water his lawn in peace. But his expression carried years of frustration. Thanks for meeting me, Mr. Hartley. Call me Jake, I said, offering a hand. He leaned in, lowering his voice. That woman you dealt with, that's the real her, always the victim, always blaming someone else. But some of us in the neighborhood, we've been suspicious for years about the money. The word hit hard, money. What about it? I asked, steady. Our HOA fees keep climbing every year, but the services, they're worse. Landscaping's a mess. Pool pump broke and stayed broken for a month. She claimed we couldn't afford repairs. But somehow she always has funds for her projects. Projects, I prompted. New signs at the entrance with her name on them. A beautification committee that's basically her and two friends having lunch at five-star restaurants. And whenever we ask for receipts, real receipts, she shuts us down. He swallowed hard. And the treasurer, that's her. She appointed herself. I felt the click inside my head, the same click I'd felt when I noticed the fuzzy logo, the bad font, the fake policy number. The same pattern, different setting. She's hiding behind bureaucracy, I said. Confusion, fog, that's how small tyrants work. Keep everyone guessing, keep the books just out of reach. Hunter's eyes burned with something between hope and fear. So, what do we do? You have rights, I told him firmly. Your bylaws should allow homeowners to demand an audit. You'll need signatures, 15%, maybe 20%, but once you have them, she can't block it. Legally, she can't. His breath caught. We can force her to open the books. You can, and when you do, don't just look for big things, look for patterns, look at credit card statements. Charges that don't belong. Spa days listed as plumbing repairs. Steakhouses called board meetings, and check the vendors, always check the vendors. He frowned, vendors. Look at who's being paid. Landscaping companies, consultants. Compare the names to corporate records, see who really owns them. It was like watching a man find a flashlight in a dark cave. His shoulders straightened. Jake, you've done this before, haven't you? Cars, I admitted. Not HOAs, but fraud is fraud. It leaves fingerprints, always. He nodded slowly, determination replacing fear. Okay, we'll do it. We'll get the signatures. When we parted, I watched him leave with a new weight in his stride. A man carrying more than just suspicion now. A man carrying purpose. A week later, he called again. His voice shook, but this time it wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. We did it, Jake. We forced the audit. She fought like hell, called it harassment, but the bylaws were clear. And we found it. We found everything. What did you find? I asked, bracing myself. It's worse than we thought. Hundreds of charges. $200 at a day spa listed as clubhouse plumbing repair. $500 at a steakhouse marked board meeting when the board wasn't even in town. Thousands on high-end clothing sites. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the inevitable. And the vendors? I asked quietly. There was a pause, then his voice dropped to a whisper. You were right. There's a landscaping consultant, Sonoranscapes. $5,000 every quarter, but the landscaping, it's weeds and dead bushes. We looked up the company. It's a sole proprietorship. The owner's name is Karen Schmidt. My stomach turned. Her maiden name. Yes, he whispered. She's been paying herself, 20 grand a year from us, from her neighbors. The scale of it was breathtaking. The arrogance, the audacity. The car, the fake insurance, the lies at the track, it was all the same pattern, but this wasn't about horsepower anymore. This was about trust, about betrayal. Hunter, I said, steady, you have everything you need. Call a special meeting, present the evidence, all of it. She'll scream, she'll deny, she'll say it's fake. But if you want this to end, the whole story has to come out, all of it, at once. There was a long silence, then Hunter exhaled. All right, let's turn on the lights. And I knew this wasn't just my fight anymore. This was theirs. This was a community waking up. And soon, Karen would be standing in front of all of them, stripped of shadows, with nowhere left to hide. The Pine Ridge Community Hall had never felt so tense. It was usually a place for potlucks and barbecues, kids, talent shows, and summer announcements. But tonight, the air felt like a courtroom before the verdict. Neighbors packed the chairs, filling every row. Some stood against the walls. Murmurs swirled like storm winds. People wanted answers. People wanted justice. At the front, under the bright glow of the projector, sat Karen Dinkle. Perfect blazer, perfect hair, lips pressed in a line of bored confidence. Flanked by her two loyal committee friends, she looked like a queen waiting to swat away peasants' complaints. She had no idea what was about to hit her. The agenda was read. Then Hunter stepped to the podium, His hands trembled as he adjusted the microphone. He wasn't a lawyer, wasn't a performer. He was just a neighbor, a man who'd mowed his lawn under her rule for years. And tonight, he carried the weight of every angry whisper, every ignored request, every unfair fee. "Good evening," he began, voice wavering. "As you know, our committee was formed to review the HOA's finances. Tonight, we present our findings." Karen leaned back, examining her nails, exuding dismissal. Hunter's hands steadied. He lifted the remote. "We believe it's best if you see for yourselves." The projector hummed. The first slide lit the screen behind Karen's head, an HOA credit card statement. $250 at Serenity Spa. Next to it, the official HOA budget line item, clubhouse pool maintenance. Gasps rippled through the room. Karen lunged forward, slamming her hand on the table. "Point of order, this meeting is out of order." A voice cut through her shriek. A retired judge in the front row stood, towering, his voice commanding. "Point of order is overruled, Madam President." She froze, forced a smile. "Thank you, Judge." He didn't smile back. "You're welcome for now." The crowd murmured louder. Two board members slid their chairs an inch away from Karen, creating gaps like fault lines. Hunter clicked again. Next slide, $500 at a steakhouse, labeled board meeting. But every board member except Karen was documented out of town that night. Slide after slide appeared, each one a hammer blow. Clothing sites, spa days, expensive dinners, all disguised as repairs, maintenance, community expenses. The room tilted from noise to silence, the kind of silence that means people are holding their breath. And then the finale. "Sonorenscapes Consulting," Hunter said, voice stronger now. "Quarterly payments of $5,000 for landscaping planning." On the screen, the state's corporate filing appeared. Registered owner, Karen Schmidt. Hunter's voice cracked but carried anyway. For those who don't know, Schmidt is President Dinkel's maiden name. The room exploded, gasps, shouts. A woman near the back shouted, "She stole from us." Another man rose, pointing, "That's our money." Karen bolted upright, her face a mask of rage. "This is slander, lies, fake documents. You people have no proof." That was the cue. Hunter steadied himself. "Actually, we do." He nodded toward the back. Marcus, my head of security, tall, calm, walked forward. In his hand, a small thumb drive. He handed it to Hunter without a word. Hunter slid it into the laptop. The screen shifted. "This evidence," he said carefully, "has been provided by Mr. Jake Hartley of Prestige Ferrari." Karen's head whipped around. Her eyes found me in the back row. For the first time, fear flickered there. The first image filled the screen, a still frame from my showroom's camera. Karen pointing at the red SF90, her finger sharp, her mouth forming the word "that one." A caption read, "Demand for a 6-month lease, no checks." Next slide, her forged insurance binder, side by side with a real one. The fake policy number, 123,456,789, circled in red. The crowd murmured, louder, angrier. Then came the official letter from Elena Garcia. Fraudulent, unauthorized, fictitious, stamped in corporate ink. Gasps again. Next, the photo of her crumpled fake track certificate. Then the telemetry printout, jagged spikes, wild lines, her catastrophic lap. Each slide tightened the noose. By the time the last image faded, the room was silent. Not shocked anymore, cold realization. They weren't looking at a president, they were looking at a fraud. Karen stood frozen in the glow of the projector. It wasn't just a screen anymore. It was a mirror, and she hated what it reflected. Finally, she screamed, "This is a setup, a conspiracy. She jabbed a trembling finger at me. "He's been out to get me from the start. He and his little friends faked all this. I'll sue every one of you." Her threats bounced off dead air. No one moved, no one spoke. Then Robert stepped forward, calm as a surgeon. "If I may," he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Just one clarification. The legal definition of defamation requires statements to be false. Everything presented tonight is based on financial records, public filings, and official correspondence. Facts are not defamation, they are accountability. The word accountability hung in the room like a hammer. Karen's face drained, her eyes darted looking for allies. She found none, only cold stares. Then the retired judge stood again. I make a motion. Removal of Karen Dinkle as president of Pine Ridge HOA for gross financial misconduct. Second, a woman shouted. All in favor, hands shot up. A forest of hands, nearly every person in the hall. All opposed. Karen's hand, her two friends, 3 hands against hundreds. The motion carries, the judge declared, effective immediately. And just like that, it was over. The title she'd weaponized, the throne she'd clung to it, evaporated in front of her neighbors. Karen shoved her chair back, grabbed her purse, and stormed toward the exit. She stopped only once, right in front of me. Her eyes were pure venom. You will regret this, she hissed. And then she was gone. The hall was silent, but it wasn't relief. It was the silence of people realizing how close they had come to being devoured. And how fragile trust can be when it's placed in the wrong hands. That night I knew she wouldn't sleep. People like Karen don't go quietly. They don't reflect, they don't learn, they double down. And sure enough, just after midnight my phone buzzed. A notification, then another, then 10 more. Karen was live again. Her face filled the screen, red-eyed, but composed in that strange way only practiced manipulators manage. She spun the camera around her lavish living room, dramatic shadows cast across her walls. They've destroyed me, she whispered, voice trembling. Tonight, a conspiracy of neighbors and car dealers came together to smear my name. They faked documents, they faked data. They manipulated people who don't understand the pressures of leadership. I gave years to this community, years, and this is how I'm repaid. Her eyes filled with crocodile tears. But I will not be silent. I will sue them all, every single one. This is harassment. This is discrimination. This is persecution of a strong woman who dared to lead. Her voice rose, ragged but powerful. To those watching, I beg you, don't let them get away with this. Don't let liars destroy truth. Call them, write them. Demand justice for me. The video ended, and the silence after was almost comical. No swarm of support, no wave of outrage, just nothing. A firework exploding in the desert sky, with no one there to watch. Because the truth was already out. The projector slides, the records, the letter from the insurance company, Tessa's video, Robert's explanation. It had spread through community forums like wildfire. Everyone had seen. Everyone had heard. And once you've seen the truth in black and white, it's hard to unsee it. The next morning, I walked into the showroom and found Marcus scrolling through his phone, chuckling. What's funny? I asked. He turned the screen toward me. Someone had posted a meme in the Pine Ridge group chat. It was a picture of a Ferrari dashboard. The caption, Karen's driving lesson, gas plus brake equals leadership. The comments were ruthless. Residents she'd once silenced with fines and threats were laughing now. Free. But not all of it was jokes. Some were serious. Can't believe we let her run things this long. Finally, accountability. She stole from us, time to take it all back. The tide had turned, and it wasn't turning back. Within a week, Pine Ridge had an interim board. Hunter, reluctantly but firmly, stepped up as acting president. They hired an accountant, brought in a lawyer. Step by step, they started peeling back the layers of damage. And for the first time, money started flowing where it belonged. Dead bushes replaced. Pool pump fixed. Kids splashing again where silence had ruled all summer. One evening, Hunter called me. His voice carried something I hadn't heard from him before, peace. Jake, he said, we're cleaning up. It's going to take time, but it's happening. She can't touch us anymore. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Good, I said simply. Later that night, I sat in my apartment, staring at the glowing city skyline, and the thought returned, the one that had been nagging since the beginning. What is real justice? Was it the moment the room erupted with shouts of anger, the unanimous vote stripping her of power, the memes mocking her arrogance. Or was it quieter, the pool repaired, the neighbors free to gather without fear, the stolen money clawed back into the community's hands? Justice, I realized, wasn't about humiliation. It wasn't about revenge. It was about lights turning on one by one until there was nowhere left for her lies to hide. But still, a small part of me wondered, was it really over? Because people like Karen rarely vanish. They retreat, they regroup, they look for cracks. And one Tuesday morning, as I sat in the calm of the showroom, the bell above the door chimed. The sound was as soft and polite as always. And when I looked up, it was her. The bell chimed its usual polite chime. I looked up, expecting another client, another curious dreamer hopping to glimpse a machine forged from fire and steel. But it wasn't a client. It was Karen. Gone was the sharp white blazer. Gone was the practiced armor of authority. She wore simple jeans, a plain top. Her shoulders slouched slightly, as if she were carrying a weight no one else could see. For a moment I wondered if I was dreaming. This was the same woman who had screamed in a packed community hall, the same woman who had waved fake papers in my face and nearly put us both into a wall on the track. And yet here she was, smaller, quieter. She approached my desk. Her voice was low, almost human. "Hi," she said softly. I want to sign up for the driving class." The words hung in the air, fragile. I studied her carefully, waiting for the angle, the trick, the demand, but I saw none, no fire in her eyes, no venom, just fatigue. "The real one?" I asked, my tone even. She gave a small, sad smile. "Yes, with Coach Diaz, they said talk to you." I slid a brochure across the desk. 2-day course, no shortcuts. "It's hard," I told her. "You listen, you do the work, no fast-tracking, no exceptions." "I know," she whispered. "I get it now." We filled out the form together. Her handwriting was neat, deliberate, not rushed, not impatient. She slid it back across the desk with steady hands. Then, after a pause, she looked at me. "And what about the car, the lease?" I leaned back in my chair. My voice was calm, steady. "One thing at a time, Karen, pass the class, get real insurance, submit a proper credit application, then we talk, same rules for everyone." She nodded slowly. "Okay." No fight, no bargaining, just acceptance. She stood to leave. At the door, she hesitated, turned back, her eyes met mine. "I'm sorry," she said simply. Her voice trembled on the edges. "For what I said, for what I did." The bell chimed again as she slipped out into the sunlight. And I sat there, staring at the form on my desk. My brother's voice echoed in my mind. Everyone deserves a chance to turn the wrench the right way. Maybe this was hers, not a car, not a shortcut, just a beginning. A chance to stand on the same ground as everyone else. I thought of Pine Ridge. The pool refilled, kids laughing again. Hunter, shoulders lighter, finally free of the weight she'd piled on him. Neighbors working together without fear of fines or fake rules. Order restored. I thought of Tessa, somewhere on a winding desert highway in her Portofino, sending postcards with sunlit snapshots and notes that read, "Thanks for keeping the roads safe. Rules rock." And I thought of the red Ferrari, gleaming under showroom lights, waiting for someone who respected it. Someone who understood that power without discipline is just chaos wrapped in beauty. Justice hadn't been loud, it hadn't been a single triumphant moment. It had been slow, steady, methodical. Lights flicking on, shadows shrinking back, truth step by step. And maybe that was the lesson. Because dignity doesn't always look like pride. Sometimes it looks like surrender. Sometimes it looks like finally admitting the rules apply to you too. The dragons slept quietly in the showroom. The air smelled of leather and steel. Everything was calm again. And for the first time since the chime of her heels on that polished floor, I felt it, peace. You've heard this confession, now wait until you hear the next one. The truth that shatters everything you thought you knew.